Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Stat Check episode 96. This is Wait for Slate with us, the end of Leviathan tier list. Wow, that's a runner of a title. That's what we get for adding stuff to it after the fact. I hope everybody's doing well. I am Innes. I'm joined by Jeremy and Nathan on this wonderful, wonderful Tuesday before everything finally settles for a bit. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's having a great time and ready to talk about some stats without Anthony, because Anthony is too busy preparing for Elden Ring DLC, I believe. Which, fair enough. He's about to have his life consumed by Warhammer for a bit. Getting ready for the DLC is not a bad place to be. How is everybody doing this fine evening? Jeremy, kick us off.
I am slowly melting into the ground. Aside from that, doing pretty good.
Is it warm in Canada?
It is currently 34 Celsius outside, and with the humidity, it feels like 43.
Yeah, no, thank you. Right.
It's a little too warm for Ottawa. I live here because I like it when it's winter and the air hurts my face. Don't like it in the summer when it feels like I'm just going to turn into a puddle.
Right now it's 10 cloudy, but it is also 11 p.m. So that's, it's going to be like
it's going to go
tomorrow,
down. It's going to go down to 23 tonight.
Yeah, no, not here for that. Nathan, how about yourself?
It's 37 for the feels here as well. And it's 33 in real temperature. Our humidity is also like 70% right now. So it's like an oven outside. It's quite toasty. I set up my second air conditioner in our apartment, so now there's one in the bedroom and one in our living room. So I'm expecting great things from my electric bill this month.
Times like this, I'm glad to live significantly north of both of you.
But I don't know that you live
here.
Like, how much further north longitudinally do you live from me? I don't know, man. It's cold as shit
but it's got to be enough. It's enough that it's not warm right now here.
It's actually just that there's like a heat dome that's like sitting over North America essentially at this point. Like, it's not supposed to drop. It's supposed to drop below 30 Celsius for the first time on Thursday, like as a high. And then it's supposed to be in the mid 30s basically the rest of the time.
The good news is this weekend, when you join us, the weather will not be this crazy.
I just assume that you guys do have air conditioning in your spaces, like normal people.
We do, but like it's nice to not step outside and immediately have your shirt soaked through.
But yes.
So why are you joining Jeremy in Ottawa this weekend?
I am going to be judging Ottawa Team's event that is being run in Ottawa this weekend. For some reason, they asked me if I wanted to fly up there and do it, so I'm flying up there and doing it. So I'm going to be judging my first large-scale teams event with a WTC format, which is going to be a blast. So if you see me and you're in our $15 a month tier, you can claim your Crisp High Five. You can also probably claim a Crisp High Five anyways. But yeah, I'll be there as a judge. I'm there specifically to target just Jeremy and his team with yellow cards. I've got yellow cards with each member of his team's names on it, ready. I don't actually.
Team name changed today, so you might want to make sure you're aware of that.
Damn it. I don't actually have to do any TO things whatsoever. Nick and Dan are handling like all of that, so I don't have to do anything for that. I just show up and then give yellow cards to people. That's all I do.
You just got to show up and ask people, what does your rule say? And yes, that model can see that. No, that dice isn't cocked.
Basically, I'm really excited to get in like 6 miles of walking while walking around to whatever convention space we're in this weekend. It'll be a blast. It's also good prep for more judging of large major sized events happening in July, probably. So we'll see what that comes to fruition later.
Yep.
Otherwise, here things are pretty normal. I joined a crusade league locally. I did it just for this moment so that I could announce it on stream that I did it, because I knew how much it would hurt Innes in particular that I did this.
Now, why did you join the Crusade League, Nathan? This is the important bit.
It has a hobby prize, and I want that hobby money because I'm really good at being motivated by carrots. That's just what it is. If you give me a hobby prize as a motivation, or if like you set me up with prize support and a goal, I will do it and get that goal completed.
I mean, that sounds like a good reason. I'm down for it.
So I have over 2,000 points of Sisters that I'm going to paint, and I need the motivation to help me paint it. So that's what I'm doing. Is I'm
Could not just being good at Warhammer be a motivation for you, Jeremy?
no,
Nathan, sorry.
Has their own motivations.
Yeah.
I need some short-term like benefit to get me through long-term work. And the Crusade League giving me a Haba prize is short-term motivation.
You don't get the dopamine from finishing a model?
I do, but it's the motivation to get me to start and to keep going and sticking to it.
Yep.
I'm very deadlines driven in that way, and like goal oriented more so. I like the payoff in those short bursts.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Otherwise, I have one cool thing that I kind of want us to talk about real quick that is also important. So it is Pride Month. That is what June is, and we got about part of the way through, and we switched our icon, and then we had an internal discussion about kind of doing something a little bit more meaningful than just switching our icon on our Discord to a rainbow colored one. So what we're doing for Pride Month is we are donating all of our Patreon funds from the month of June, along with any super chat funds and any ad funds essentially that we get from YouTube. And we will be donating that to two different charities. One is Mermaids, which is a UK-based charity. And then we are still working on which North American-based charity that we are going to donate to. But we are going to split our donation across those two charities, and we're still looking for recommendations for North American charities. So if you have a LGBTQ plus focused charity that you just love, even if it is a local one to your area, please shoot me a DM or put it in as a super chat. The other thing that I would like you to do as a group of watchers is to donate to a charity this month and kind of commit to being good to people by donating to a charity that is LGBTQ focused. So that's what I'm that's the announcement for all of you. It sounded probably way more serious when I was like, I have a serious announcement to make. Thanks, Nathan's Ben. Leaving the. Also, thank you, Ben, for being the first donation on our donation drive. So I would like all of you to do that. Donate some money, donate some time. Walk the walk and do that.
We've also, I believe, got a food bank donation on in the StatCheck Patreon community for guessing the correct date of the balance data slate, which is something that Rickard organizes every balance data slate time. If you get the date wrong, donate it $10 to your local food bank. So I managed to lose that one last time. So yeah, hopefully we can do some good for local communities and for the wider community as well.
Yep. One of the focuses for us more recently, especially, is that we are going to take our code of ethics and kind of walk the walk for the meaning behind the code of ethics that we kind of put forth as our show in our Discord. So we will be doing some more stuff like this as well moving forwards. That includes things like that. So thank you everybody for listening to the brief spiel. I appreciate the number of super chats that came in. Thank you, Nurgleman. Thank you, Nikki D. Williams. And thank you, Evil Granny, for the super chats. I'm going to say them as they come in instead of at the end just to annoy us.
That you do whatever you want with the super chats, man. That's what they're there for. Super chats break the rules of the show. That's how this works. So with that, let's get into what the structure of today's show is going to be, because we're going to be doing something fairly similar to what you guys might have seen from our End of Leviathan show. Obviously, with the balance data slate coming, nobody's particularly stressed over talking about, we spent last week going over the new missions so we're going to take a bit of a break from that. So this week, we're going to be going through the stats from the last couple of weeks, because obviously everybody wants to hear about their tournaments and all that kind of thing getting shouted out. So we'll be doing that. Then we're going to have a look back at our End of Leviathan tier, or End of Leviathan A tier list, and having a look at what that balanced data slate setup was, so that we can then do the same thing again. Because if it worked before, which it disgustingly did, you guys did incredible numbers for that one for us, which is strongly motivating us to do the same again, especially when we can, drive some numbers. Who's going to complain? So we'll be doing another tier list for the Leviathan B segment, and so that we can look forward to the Pride Nexus meta with a look to the future. We'll also be lying and prevaricating over exactly what we thought the changes were going to bring about, because frankly, I don't remember what I said I thought was going to happen. So I'm just going to make wild statements like, yeah, I always thought the sisters were going to be terrible in the new meta, and the Wolf Joe would obviously be broken. And you guys are just going to either take me at face value or call me a liar in the comments, either of which is fine. But that's interaction, and I won't complain. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but that's what I'm sticking with, because what can go wrong?
It won't be the first or the last time I've been called a liar, so it's fine.
That's also true.
Bring it on, chat.
So with that, Jeremy, Nathan, talk us through the last week of stats, or the last 2 weeks of stats. How long do we have? Week,
I mean,
right?
I can do.
think we
I was
covered
just going to do the
I think
last
it's just a week. Yeah, we did stats last week.
Okay. We're going to
I'm
talk
losing
about the
track.
last week of stats. The best performing faction by win rate is, funnily enough, the 3 lads who are still playing Death Watch. All 3 of them managed an average win rate of 58.3% while making up 0.3% of the meta, but not placing anywhere. So they did
That's more
okay,
accurate.
but they didn't get anywhere with it. So good job, guys, for being the last 3 people on the long vigil. The faction that actually did the best while having more than 10 players is Grey Knights, who had 45 players, 5% of the meta, and a 57.5% win rate. They managed 1 event win, 6 top 4s, and 11 top 10s for an eye-watering 2.49 over rep. Oh, gotta love seeing closing in on Harlequin base numbers for a second there with our over reps. In third, we had Thousand Suns with 43 players, 4.8% of the meta, a 56.6% win rate, 3 top 4s, 10 top 10s, so no event wins, and a 1.3 over rep. Blood Angels are next, which is interesting because previously I don't think we'd seen them in the top.
The Wolves have been doing pretty terribly for a while, so it's nice to see them doing a little bit better.
35 players, 3.9% meta rep, 56.4% win rate, an event win, 5 top 4s, 7 top 10s, and a 2.67. Then we have Space Wolves knocked off their game apparently and no longer in the top spot, at least for this week. 28 players, 3.1% meta representation, a 56.3% win rate, no event wins, no top 4s, 4 top 10s for a 0 and over rep. The highest over rep for the weekend, though, goes to Black Templars, who had 23 players, 2.6% of the meta, a 56.0% win rate, 2 event wins, 4 top 4s, 5 top 10s for a 3.25 over rep. Those are actually Harlequin numbers, which is, good job, Righteous Crusaders, all 23 of you, in managing to get that over rep cranked real high.
They're definitely not playing Righteous Crusaders. That's all I'm going to say.
True. That's... I don't think
mostly Ironstorm and Gladius.
I was going to say it's pretty much all Ironstorm and Gladius. We're shocked and awed by this.
Kevin Zollinger went to an event, so naturally the Black Templar win rate spiked.
Then the other factions with event wins for the weekend are Necrons, 7.9% of the meta, a 56% win rate as well, 3 event wins, 7 top 4s, 11 top 10s, and a 1.84 over rep. Necrons looking to enter the Pariah Nexus in a thematically appropriate way, I guess.
Will you just die already?
Yeah, would you? Orcs, interestingly enough, did not win any events. But the other event winners, like I said, I was going through, are Sisters of Battle with 2.8% of the meta, for 54.2% win rate, 2 event wins, 3 top 4s, 5 top 10s for a 2.24, proving that their index was actually not bad at all, which everybody was saying all along.
It got popped into the roof, so clearly it must have been terrible.
Yeah, the index was terrible the whole time, and I don't know what I'm talking about. Imperial Knights won an event, 2.5% of the meta, 52.8% win rate, an event win, a top 4 and 2 top 10s. And then Chaos Space Marines won 2 events over the weekend while having 7.6% of the meta, a 50.2% win rate. Along with their 2 event wins, they had 7 top 4s, 12 top 10s, and a 1.92 over rep. And that kind of closes out. Yeah, CSM may be good. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe nobody's right about anything anymore.
After seeing how the ACO finals went, I assume that nobody knows anything about how Warhammer is played anymore. That was, just put a hole right in the stats, and that's all that happened.
True. And then the bottom 5 factions, just because everybody always wants to hear how the worst factions in the meta are, or who they are. Astra Militarum was worst performer of the weekend with a 39.2% win rate, 1 top 4 and 2 top 10s. Then Tyranids, 41.1% win rate, 2 top 4s, 5 top 10s. Custodes, a 42.9% win rate with a 1.9% meta representation. Holy shit. They're down so far. That's like an 80% decrease in their meta representation, which is wild. Leagues of Votan at a 44.9% win rate and 1 top 10. And then Adeptus Mechanicus at a 45.7% win rate and also a single top 10. And it kind of rounds it out for the weekend. I don't think there's anything anybody didn't expect in the bottom part of this.
I have 2 shoutouts from this week's stats.
Cool.
One, our favorite Imperial Agents players rose up again. C Bishop.
Oh, where is it? Oh,
it doesn't show up in any of the stats because I don't have a table for it because they're not a real faction, but I promised C I would keep them in there. So Imperial Agents managed one. There was one player, they had 2 wins and 3 losses. So he maintains his just about 50% throughout the Leviathan with Imperial Agents.
I love it.
It was very funny when James Grover drew in round 1 for Bristol. He's just like, I can't lose this. I cannot afford to lose this in the Greenhammer backstage.
If you lose this, you are so done. And then another shout out is someone finally took the Null Maiden Vigil to a GT.
Ooh,
they won 2 games.
Not bad.
And they lost 3.
About as good as Agents.
Yeah, actually. Hilariously, and this is something that I'm just double checking now. The Agents scored less on average than the Null Maiden did.
That seems unsurprising.
Yeah.
Also, thank you, Evil Granny, for $2 more to extend your question.
So we had Evil Granny, Ben McJurek, Davlos, and Aidan Broglehurst also chip in a few dollars since the last time we spoke.
I won't lie, I also heard Pride and Nexus, which was funny. And then I guess we can switch over to looking at the summary stats if we want, or do we want to?
Let's kick off.
Let's summary up the previous. So let's have a look back. Let's jump into the time machine to the long time ago of like 7 weeks
months ago.
Yeah, 7 weeks for the end of the end of the first Leviathan thing. So this here,
the end of the Q2 or Q1 balance period.
I need to do it this way. There we go. So this should be the stats that we're having at the end of the previous meta. So for anybody who hadn't seen it, we very basically went with a spread of every faction based on how well they were doing on our 3 key metrics, which are win rate, overrepresentation in top 4s, so how much more represented they are than the player population in top 4s, and event wins net were our kind of big defining factors. The factions at the top were those that had 2 or more in the top 5, factions at the bottom 2 or more in the bottom 5, and so on and so forth. And then we applied a little bit of editorial to split the tiers up a little bit and give it a bit more granularity without shuffling anything like in order, just kind of shifting magnitude. So we ended up with an S tier of Necrons and Sisters, an A tier of Grey Knights, Thousand Sons, and Custodes, a B tier of Tau, Black Templars, and Eldar, a C tier of Guard, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, Demons, and Votan, a D tier of Death Guard, Drakari, and Adeptus Mechanicus, an F tier of Orcs, World Eaters, Dark Angels, GSC, Imperial Knights, and Chaos Knights, and a trash tier of Book Space Marines, Chaos Space Marines, Tyranids, and Death Watch. So, based on the balanced data slate, what did you guys think were going to be the big shakeups that we saw coming? Obviously, we knew that the Orcs and Chaos Space Marine books were coming, so we all expected them to move up pretty sharply through the rankings, unless their books were complete duds. But yeah, balanced data slate, we saw changes to Necrons, we saw changes to a few other armies, but notably, I don't think when we looked at the balanced data slate, we were all particularly like, there's a ton of changes here. So yeah, what were your guys' thoughts after the last balanced data slate for this previous meta's stats?
I think we were predicting like very small shuffles and like not large shuffles. I think I remember us saying that Necrons were still going to be good. That Thousand Sons were going to be good, if not better. And I think we said that Sisters were still going to be good. I don't remember us saying much else from that. I think we did say that Blood Angels were going to be good or continue to be bad, but we were harping on how Blood Angels were the best Marine faction, and I think that was kind of it.
I mean, I still feel that way, even though I know the stats are not telling us that. I'm sure that when we do this, the top of the top of the list is going to be, for a lot of reasons, Space Wolves will be near it, and it will continue to confuse me in gripping and magnificent ways in every week.
I won't lie, seeing Space Wolves go into the S tier, I think, in this one, based on overrep win rate and overall GT wins, is going to be
hurt me.
the best. It's going to be the best thing, though.
Yeah, I definitely think actually that's a good shot. I think Guard is definitely one that seems like we expected to move down a lot from where we had it in C tier, right? Because it got nerfed pretty badly.
Yeah, and it didn't move by that much. It kind of hit a floor of about 45%.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting.
Low, but still good.
Yeah, this should also give us a bunch more data on the new Tau book as well, because we did not have a ton of insight on that. And then obviously Custodes, we're not expecting to see remain in A tier, I would assume.
No,
so
they're going to be
with
at
that,
the bottom.
It's time to do our favorite bit. I'm going to present up a brand new tab. It should even have the wonderful no ads on it, because I think I managed to turn on ad blocker on Mozilla. So let's get started. So as before, I have basically added a bunch of categories here that we'll start with, and then we may shuffle some of the categories around depending on whether we feel things are like top of tier and should be in the tier above and things like that. Basically, the vibes bit of this is going to be us doing a little bit of shuffling within tiers and around like what maybe not moves up to the bottom of the next one. But mostly it should be stats based. As before, the categories we're going off of are win rate, overrepresentation, and event wins. So we'll be going through each of the factions in the game and placing them somewhere on this based on that. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So do we want to just start at the beginning faction order wise and see where we land?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. So before we kick into this, because I did put all this together. Of the 26 factions, yes, I'm including all the different marine ones separately. How many of those are within the balance window that GW has been talking about for the last 2 years?
Almost all of them, I would assume. Like maybe 4, like 1 above, 3 below, I would have guessed right now. I
think it's 3 above, 4 below.
Oh, okay, a little more above than I thought there would be.
Yeah,
I was going to say now, 3 and 3.
With that being said, the top end is 57.6% and the bottom end is 42.1%.
Not as
which admittedly is still a 15% variance from top to bottom, but
yes, but in terms of being outside that 10% band is actually quite small.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had 15% variance from first to second before, so
yeah, still a ways to go, but every time we do one of these, it looks better.
It does. So
all right,
let's kick off at the beginning. Let's start off. Let's just go alphabetical order. Where are Adeptus Mechanicus?
That's not alphabetical at all.
It's here. It is
Adeptus Erotus.
Okay, let's start with sisters. That means I have to find it. Cool. Starting with sisters.
They are 6th in win rate with a 53.7% win rate. They are 8th in event wins with 5 event wins, and they are 5th in overrep with a 1.40.
Okay, so they should be roughly top of 2+ categories at the moment.
Yeah,
doing very well, but not quite breaking into the top 5 in multiple things.
Yep.
This is for everybody who needs to be reminded, a pre-new codex.
Yes, this is the index Adeptus rules.
And some of these will have mixes because we didn't really filter it down. So like Custodes will have a little bit of a mix. Orcs will have a little bit of a mix. Tau will most entirely be Tau, like new Tau, but
might be.
We can probably adjust for a little bit that with our vibes. I think
that's why we do vibes at the end.
That's why we do vibes.
All right, Custodes
in the bottom.
Yes, they are 21st in win rate with a 45.8% win rate, but they are balanced. They are 23rd in event wins with 0, so tied 3 ways or 4 ways with that. And then they are 24th in overrep with a 0.47, but it's not 0.
Okay, so currently bottom of, they'll be over here somewhere.
Yeah,
that's not great. That's pretty poor.
Yeah, it ain't great. All right, Rusty boys. Ow is all I have to say. They are 26th, so they are dead last in win rate at 42.1%. They are in that 4-way tie for event wins with 0, and they are 21st, so they are slightly better than the Custodes in overrep at 0.63.
So where are we putting them, above or below Custodes? You got the numbers in front of you.
I would say below. Like their overrep slightly better, but their win rate is catastrophically lower.
There we go then.
All right.
Admec
who
you
we
got
got
bad,
next?
but not that bad. But
Yeah.
no, Custodians got a bad, but not that bad.
Yeah, custodians always have AdMech to look at when it comes to bad codex. AdMech didn't even have a good index to start with.
Now, we do know for certain that AdMech are getting rules changes in the Balanced Data Slate. It was confirmed in the last
they've
one.
said it so many times. So
surely something has to happen for this bird army.
We'll see. All right. And we got Eldari. They are 19th in win rate with a 47.8% win rate. Are they finally balanced? They are 10th in event wins with 4 event wins. And they are 14th in overrep with a 0.82.
Okay, so that was a bottom 10 and a top 10.
So Lamal?
Limbo.
Yeah,
that's limbo.
Oh, limbo.
Neither good nor bad. Perfectly balanced.
You're right.
Damn it. All right. Now we've got our guard, perennial in C tier, apparently. They are 22nd in win rate with a 45.6%.
So that is bottom 5 of 26, right?
They are 0.2% lower than Custodes in terms of win rate. However, they are 15th in event wins because they have 2 event wins. And then they are 18th in overrep at 0.69.
Okay. So they should be somewhere in here. They're not in the bottom 5 in multiple categories, just in one.
Correct.
Yeah, this is like F tier. This is trash. This is F, right? That's how we did this. S, A, B, C, D, F, and
Press
trash.
F's in chat for the bottom ones. All right. So then we've got Black Templars with they are 7th they are 9th for overall win rate with a 52.1% win rate. They are 4th for event wins. Wow, I gotta clean this up because I'm confusing myself. With event wins with 7 event wins, and then they are 11th with overrep at a 0.99.
Okay, so that's probably top
10 in 2 categories.
Yep.
And top 5 in 1.
So probably, how would you compare them to Sisters? Slightly better, slightly worse?
I would probably put them slightly worse.
Okay, then
Sisters have one slightly less events, but they also have a similar overrep. Yeah, like Sisters overrep is higher, but Black Templar's win rate is slightly lower. Yeah, I would put Black Templars below Sisters.
Okay, seems reasonable though.
Blood Angels, they actually have been doing fine all along. They are 8th in win rate with a 53% win rate. They are 8th in event wins with 5 event wins, and they are 2nd in overrep with a 1.62.
Oof! Look at them. They can, they're better than the Sisters.
Top of 8 here, right?
Yeah,
very competent, but not quite breaking into multiple top 10, not top 5s.
Correct. They just have the one top 5,
and they're definitely liable for a push up.
Demons are 12th in win rate with a 49.7%. They are 15th in event wins with 2 event wins, and they are 19th in overrep with a 0.65. So bottom 10 in one category.
Yep. That win rate, 50% win rate, same as their invulnerable save rate. It's the only demons will never be worse than 50% win rate because they pass half their invuls, and some people just cannot lose to that.
All right. Next, we have Chaos Knights. They are 17th in win rate with a 48% win rate. They are 20th in event wins because they have 1. And then they are 22nd in overrep, which is a 0.59.
Okay, so they're bottom 5 in one category, bottom 10 in 2 others.
Yeah. Then we've got Chaos Space Marines. They are 11th in win rate with a 50.2% win rate. They are 4th in event wins with 7, and they are 9th in overrep with a 1.13.
So there-ish.
I'd probably bump them between Sisters and Black Templars because some of the stats reflects the
5 in anything.
Black Templars were they were 4th in event wins.
Okay, and CSM were where in their top 5?
They were also 4th in event wins.
Okay. So it's like, how do these compare?
The funny thing about this is that, you're going to get a great chuckle about this. So Black Templars are 9th in win rate and 11th in overrep. Chaos Space Marines are 11th in win rate and 9th in overrep, and they both have the same win rate.
They're tied.
Or event wins.
Just put them there
Fine.
based on
They're
vibe.
above this Black Templars aren't a real army, okay?
Well, yeah, and also CSM, part of this includes their old stats, and part of this includes their new book stats. So they're probably
It shouldn't be
higher than
much
what
of their
that
old
actually shows.
stats, though, right? Like
It's like a
basically,
week, too,
like a
but
week,
that's
yeah.
enough to pull it down
Yeah.
to like 1 point that would put them above Black Templars.
That's
All right,
fair.
Dark Angels. They are 24th in win rate,
Oh no, this is
but
starting
they are
badly.
10th in event wins and 15th in overrep.
Oh damn! Only bottom 10 in
So,
one
A
category.
bottom 5 in one category, right?
Yeah, a bottom 5 in one
A bottom
category, but
five,
also
a
a top
top
10 in one
10.
category. What
Okay,
them
so you
allow.
you split them like here, right? Like
Well, they're only bottom 10 in one category, so I would probably just pump them up one.
Until
they're
now.
bottom 5 in a category, right? That's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's like -2 + 1, so it's like -1,
Yeah,
right?
keep them down there then.
Yeah.
That's where they deserve to be now that Storm Ravens are dead and gone. All right.
Good.
Their win rate's 43.5%, by the way, for anyone who's curious.
Yeah, they can be below demons, that's fine.
Yeah, Death Guard. They are 14th in win rate with a 49.4%, 0.3% behind your demons. They are tied for 23 with event wins because they have none. And they are 23rd in overrep because they have 0.58.
Poor Death Guard.
Wow, Death Guard suck.
Well, the good news is that Death Guard players can always feel good that they're not Death Watch players because they are
No,
dead last in every
The
category.
biggest problem is that Liam VSL is still playing Death Guard, so they're probably still broken. But
Actually, wait, no, Death Watch is not dead last in a category. So they're dead last in overrep and event wins because they have a 0 in bow, but they have a 46.1% win rate, which puts them at only 20th. They're still bottom
They're
5.
still the worst.
two
They're still the
categories,
worst
so-
faction in the game.
Anything more than that is cope. All right, Drukari are 10th in event wins with a 50.6%. They are 20th
in win rate, right?
wins. Yeah, their win rate is 10.
Sorry, you said event wins.
Yeah, I'm realizing that now. Then their event win rate is 20th with 1, but then they are 8th in overrep with 1.31.
So they probably like two top
They're
10,
top 10
one
in two
bottom
categories.
10,
Yeah,
but they're bottom 10 in one as well. So nudge them down 1.
yeah, that's fair.
+2 -1.
Yep.
It's like
I trust
vague,
Dennis on this.
Yeah, it's vague.
All right, Gene Stealer Cults. I don't want to guess what their win rate rank is.
Like
I mean, we
58.
asterisk this with this has to be asterisk. So this is the index, right? So
Oh, it's
where are
100%
they at?
the index, but this is like snapshot right now. They're
Yep.
4th in win rate right now.
I believe it.
However, they are 15th in event wins with only 2, but they are 7th in overrep with 1.35. So they are
Okay.
not bottom 10 in any category, and they are top 10 in 2.
Like here.
Grey Knights, Jesus fucking Christ, just put them at the very top. They are 2nd in game win rate at 56%. They are 3rd in event win rate with 8, and they are 1st in overrep with 1.67.
Top of the
That's
top.
our first S tier. I'll pour one out for our Grey Knights, for our Imperial Knights right below the Grey Knights. They are 13th in game win rate at 49.5%. They are 15th in event wins with 2, and they are 20th in overrep with 0.64. So bottom 10 in one category?
There-ish.
Probably.
I've seen some all right. Like, I know Brian Jones has been doing all right with them. They've been doing fine, right?
Yep. My poor short kings. Votan. They are 18th in game win rate at 47.9%. They are 15th in event win rate with 2, and they are 25th in overrep with 0.31.
Where are we putting them compared to Chaos Knights and Guard?
Probably above Knights, below Guard.
Fair enough.
Necrons.
Do we think the new boys are going to change this for them? The little
depends how cheap they are. Like if they're 120 points, if they're 60 points, ooh. Look, I can
So
drink.
if there's 60 points, everyone will have 30 of them. Let's not beat around the bush. But yeah,
All
the same
right,
points
now-
as Termagants, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right. Our not so rusty boys, just old boys, Necrons. They are 7th in game win rates at 53.2%. They are 2nd in event wins with 11, and they are 10th in overrep at 1.13. So top 10 in 2 categories, top 5 in 1.
So that's somewhere around the same place as Sisters
I'd
of
probably
Blood
put them right
Angels?
below Sisters.
Yeah, around about where Sisters and Blood Angels were. One top 5, 2 top 10s.
I would say that it's pretty narrow in that top 10 and 2 categories for the differences.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably gonna shuffle
tight.
we're probably shuffling like the ones that don't have a top 5 down one. So like at the moment, I would be looking at like CSM, CSM will down a tier kind of thing. But we'll have a look at that at the end.
Yeah. All right, and we've got orcs. Orcs are the most played faction this last 2 months.
Outside of Space Marines.
Well, yeah, if you put all the Space Marines together, which we're not doing right now. So they are 5th in game win rate at 53.7%. They are 1st in event wins with 13, and they are 4th with an overrep at 1.45. So that's top 5 in all 3 categories.
Yep, same as Grey Knights. So where are we racking them next to Grey Knights?
Yeah, I'd say they're ahead of Grey Knights slightly, right?
So
average
by stats, they're behind Grey Knights ever so slightly because Grey Knights have a 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and Orcs have a 5th, 1st, and 4th.
Okay, so that's what it was. Yep, that's right.
Pour one out for our Codex compliant bros. They are 23rd in win rate with a 44% win rate. They are tied for 20th with event wins with 1, and they are 17th in overrep for a 0.72. Bottom 10 in 3 categories, bottom 5 and 1. Yeah. So shove that where you will.
Yeah, they're doing something all right.
Space Wolves. Well, we know where they are with win rate because they've been sitting there for the last 6 weeks, but they are 1st in win rate, game win rate with a 57.6% win rate. They are 4th in event wins, which is with 7, and they are 3rd in overrep with a 1.50. So they're basically equal to Orcs because it's a 1st, 3rd, 4th. Orcs is a 1st, 4th, 5th. So technically just above Orcs, but
No, put them above Orcs then. It makes me upset, but
all right, then we've got Tau. They are 16th in win rate for a 48.4%. So just dodging a bottom 10 there. And then they are 10th with event wins with 4. And then they are 13th in overrep for 0.86. So top 10 in one category.
Better or worse than Drakari?
Drakari were 10th, 20th, and 8th. Drakari had a bottom 10, so.
But 2
we
top
did the
10s.
+2, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, probably about the same, really.
I like Tau more.
I mean, yeah. All right, T-Suns.
It'll make Redvan happier that he's doing with the worst faction, so.
All right, then we've got Thousand Suns. They are 3rd in game wins at 55.9%. They are 7th in event wins at 6, and they are 6th in overrep at 1.4. So 2 top 10s and a top 5.
Put some right where Blood Angels is roughly.
So they're up there with Blood Angels, Necrons, and
because Blood Angels were 2nd, 8, and T-Suns are 3rd, 7th, 6th. So they're basically pretty equivalent, I'd say.
Yeah, happy with that then.
Now we've got Tyranids.
I'm feeling this right now, but we'll do that when I rename things.
Tyranids are 25th in win rate with a 42.8%. They are 10th, though, in event wins with 4, and then they are 16th in overrep at 0.74. So a top 10 and a bottom 10. Lamau.
And then a bottom 5, yeah.
Bottom 10.
Yeah, a top 10 and a bottom 5. Yeah, bottom 10
so
in one category.
Probably here.
Yeah.
Yep. And then last but not least, our favorite, the World Eaters.
Sorry, Anthony.
They are 15th in game win rate at 48.8%.
Corner's
They are
number.
14th in event wins with 3, and then they are 12th with overrep at 0.91.
Lamau.
They have no top 10s and no bottom 10s. They just kind of sit perfectly in the middle.
If I now rename these into the good old
trash. F D.
Yeah, World Leaders, perfectly balanced. Don't need a single change. Same with Eldari.
We'll see how true that holds. I need to recolor some stuff. Okay, this is going to take a second. That's not how that works. I didn't know I was. Yeah, I didn't look at which way the colors were going.
Just go all like brown or something.
They can get purple. So I feel like the shuffle here is these come down to B because they didn't have anything that was in the S tier, and then probably these two come down. I don't know,
I
something
think
like
that's
that.
reasonable.
And we just add an extra tier there for the like 3 top 5s basically for the 3 S tiers.
Yeah, that seems about right.
And that gives us around about a, well, fairly flat as fuck meta.
It's what it feels like right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I'd like to see kind of that squish towards the middle. So you'd ideally
for
want,
sure. Yeah,
like,
it would be a lot better if
You want
like
to see more
with-
like the bell curve of like a couple at the top, a couple at the bottom,
like
and most of
these
the
two move up, these two move up, these two move up.
But by
these
the
two move
nature
down,
of
right,
our
yeah.
ranking system, where we do the top 10s and bottom 10s,
Yeah.
we may actually be preventing that.
Yep.
Sure. I mean,
little bit.
there is a sampling structure to this, right? This roughly lines up with what I feel like the numbers have been saying. Space Wolves are very good, Blood Moons are very good, Orcs Grey Knights are very good, Sisters, Necrons, Thousand Suns, and then like CSM and Black Templars are both doing fine, but nothing like egregious. GSC low player rate, but still doing well. And then you have kind of like the players that are very good at them are still playing them and doing well with them factions like Tau, Drakari, Eldar, and World Eaters, but you don't see them super high in the player population. And then after that, you kind of get into the for fun factions, I would describe, right? It's clearly broken, very good with the right pilot, good but finding their feet or limited builds, I would say. Like Black Templars Ironstorm has its issues, competent pilot required. Don't try this at home.
Crusade players?
Eating paste in Crusade players, yeah.
I do not hate this Crusade players. It's just a very funny joke to make. I have met some very competent Crusade players. Nathan is one of them.
It's gonna be really funny when I win our bet, Jeremy. It's gonna be really funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna eat my words on that one, but that's fine.
Elucidate. What's the bet?
So we have a tattoo bet for WTC, and there are 2 variations of it depending on whether Jeremy plays War Masters or not. One of them is whoever places higher in War Masters. The alternative is whoever places higher as a percentage between me and Team Canada, basically.
Ooh, that's more fun. I like that one.
Yeah, that one would be an interesting one because there's going to be an interesting spread of Team Canada players at War Masters.
Yep.
But that'll only happen if I don't play War Masters, which
correct
is a possibility depending on the army that I end up on. Because
and basically, it's for a loon tattoo, no matter what.
Yeah, because we both think loons are cool.
Yep.
Loons are pretty cool.
And it's a bird, and it's from my home state and from Jeremy's home
Canva,
state.
stop trying to sell me AI.
What we should do is I should make it if I win that you have to get it on a loony though.
Okay. That's reasonable. We'll talk about it. We'll chat.
All right. So how are we feeling at the tail end of this? Like this is the actual end of Leviathan, not just like a Slate or anything. How do we feel the last year of 40K overall has gone?
I mean, it feels like it started roughly. It started real rough.
There you go. There's the image that you can screenshot and share with everybody.
It started real rough, and then it got incrementally better, like a little slowly as Games Workshop seemed to also get its feet. It seems good, or at least better now. I don't know if I'd say it's good yet, but it's definitely I
think it's fun now.
Yeah, I think that's where it is.
You can show up at an event and know that you'll have if you're playing 6 rounds, you'll have 4 fun games and maybe 2 where you get thrashed.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more of I can play more factions rather than just if I don't play Eldari, GSC, or Krons, I die.
Yes. I think there's more ability to win. Sorry, Ennis. Yeah.
No, go for it.
I think the diversity of factions has increased that have event wins, and the diversity of factions that are getting into top 4s has also better than it was at the beginning of 10th edition, but it has taken multiple slates to get there. And if we keep going at the path we're going, hopefully GW will just get better at slates and things will just get better until we have a well-balanced and fun meta. All of the stats and all of our assumptions are going to have to go out the window with a slate and also an MFM and also a like core change to all of our missions happening at the same time. So like the stats are going to be all over the place and not where they are now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's going to be tough because like they've clearly learned a lot in how to make this game better, more fun, more balanced over the last year alone.
There we go.
So, but you are right that when you pull on that many levers, things can get a little wild for a little while. So, yay, WTC is going to be interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I think the interesting thing to look at here is like, how does this compare if we're looking at both at the same time, which I know I can do and you guys can't. Sisters and Necrons both came down from being in S tier to being in A tier. Grey Knights moved up a tier and basically took over their position, it feels like, where Thousand Sons kind of stayed where they were and Custodies dropped off a cliff. So that's kind of the main changes. As far as the bottom tier goes, Tyranids kind of shuffled around, like maybe got a little bit better contextually. CSM obviously jumped, but Space Marines and Death Watcher both stayed down the bottom. Neither Knights build did much. GSC definitely took a bit of a rise. World Eaters rose up to the middle. I know they got like some minor points changes and probably benefited from Custodies leaving the meta quite a lot, which definitely a big help there. Other than that, most other things kind of stayed like a little bit around they were. Blood Angels have definitely jumped in representation, coming up from C tier previously to A tier. But like Death Guard fell off a little bit. Drakari rose a little bit. Death Guard definitely had a better Custodies matchup than a lot. So, you know, it's one of those armies that probably fell more as a result of like contextual changes around them. So I think it's interesting how, you know, obviously the shuffling of one thing very much changes the others, right? World Eaters going up is like it's probably entirely a picture of Custodies going out of the meta. Grey Knights moving up to S tier is definitely a result of the power vacuum left by Necrons and Sisters both copying pretty reasonable nerfs there, as well as Guard as well. Although Guard fell from where we had them before, which was C tier, to being now in the new face of F tier, which was a thing that was, you know, like when David Giller was speaking about it on 40K Fireside, was exactly what he predicted, that the army
was a substantial nerf and probably more than they needed. Yeah,
for sure. And I mean, I don't necessarily think that like the things that were nerfed didn't need nerfed, but the army needed something better than the compensation buffs it got.
Yeah, right? It needed internal balance changes rather than just getting slapped.
Yep.
It probably needed more like the Drakari treatment, where it got a new detachment, like a new way to play. That book's not as deep with the current detachment and current set of stratagems and enhancements. Like just from what models you can play 40K with, I think.
Well, I mean, it wants your army to stand still, which is not a particularly fun way to engage with the game, right? So
no, in a game where you have to be like moving onto objectives and doing actions and contesting things from your opponent, and standing still with half your army feels bad.
Yeah. So as far as the balance data slate goes, because that's obviously what we're building towards, what of these armies what are we hoping to see for these armies that are at the top? I would say probably the top 7 and maybe the top 10. And then what are we hoping to see for, like, I would say probably the bottom 12? Like, those are the armies that realistically look like they need changes, especially for the ones that have been sat there for ages, like, you know, Knights and Votan and Book Space Marines.
I don't think Votan need much to happen with them. I think, honestly, it comes down to they're kind of a little boring and a little soft at this point, both from a playing into and playing as. Like the addition of the Jaegers might change their dynamic. A little bit.
The number one thing the armies are hoping for is a good kill team release. That's fun,
which is very funny. Well, GSC didn't get that because they got Brood Brothers.
Yeah, I do not understand why that kid exists.
I mean, Sisters and GSC, we can't really talk about those because the books just came out.
Sure.
When we see the new points this week, because they always release new points the week of the actual Codex release, then we can get a better idea of where we're sitting on that. Grey Knights, they probably need to hit NDKs again because they're still just too good. And I don't know, maybe hit the Redeemer at the same time. But
The flat 6 advance probably should be like infantry only at this point. I think that's probably what I would hit on Grey Knights. But
yeah.
I think if you do just points, you probably don't make the army unplayable. You probably hit Redeemers, you hit NDKs, like Jeremy said. And you don't give them compensation points decreases to like.
Well, they got that in the last one is the big thing. They got like the NDK, not the Grandmaster, just the NDK went up, as well as Librarians going up 10 points again. And now, but they also got power armor decreases, and so I think they're probably like if you hit
it
Redeemers
kind of came
by,
out in the wash.
If you hit Redeemers by like 20 to 30 points and hit every NDK by 10, then that kind of crushes the 6 NDK or 5 NDK triple Redeemer lists, which is just cancer to play into.
It's probably fine.
Can we get the Librarian to 500 points by the end of the edition? The Librarian is the new Gulliman. It just goes up 10 points every time. I need to do my new Balanced Date Slate bingo. That's my next one for Twitter.
Blood Angels, I don't know. Hit Death Company again.
I think Death Company should probably go to like...
Or revert the Sun's change. Make it +1 strength and attack.
I don't even think that changes anything. I think that the thing with the Sun's change is the Sun change makes a bunch of stuff that wouldn't be viable actually interesting. Like the fact that it helps, like I think Death Company need a nerf more than the Sun's thing, right? Because the Sun's thing, making Assault Intercessors like a cool and viable unit is fun. Making Death Company wild is stupid. I think Death Company definitely don't need their rerolls in shooting. That's definitely one thing I would probably be looking at. Realistically, just box lock them, but yeah, as annoying as that would be.
You probably increase the points on Lamarties as well.
They did that again. That's the thing. Like the last pass, they gave 10 points on Lamarties, 10 points on Death Company, on regular Death Company, and also on the Sang Priest, as well as on Lamarties and Dante. So it's just, or not Dante, but Lamarties and I think the Sanguinar got hit too.
Yep.
Sanguinar.
I think you just
Sanguinar Priest did.
That's the one I'm thinking.
You increase Dante again. You increase Death Company. You just make it more expensive.
Dante.
Yeah, you can
not
leave
Dante. I mean Lamarties. Sorry,
Lamarts.
Yeah. You kept saying Dante, and it got stuck in my brain too. So I was like, "Oh, Dante."
Yeah,
Found death to 3 CP.
Why not?
No, make the Lance lethal, not a battle tactic,
or just remove the battle tactic being a free thing. Right? Like, don't let them be red. Don't let them echo. It's so stupid.
True. Just get rid of double strats entirely.
Just get rid of the battle tactic thing. Just -1 CP it. Like how they change Cypher.
Hit fucking Wraiths and Doomstalkers, and you're probably fine.
Yeah,
interesting because I don't think Necrons are as big of a problem in the current meta to need like large.
No, but playing into 12 or 18 Wraith still feels really, really bad.
Outside of exactly people who are like, the list is really strong. We all saw that at ACO and making it to the finals and whatever, and getting bailed out by an explosion. But it's a good list. But I do think the average player has hit a point where they can beat the average player on Canoptek Court. Now, whether you're going to be Josh Roberts or not, maybe not. But if you haven't got a plan for playing his 18 rates now, you're probably just doing something wrong in your list building step, or actively planning on playing in teams, which cool. But yeah, it definitely feels like there's more that could be done there.
Monolith +25 again. Let's go.
Monolith 500 points by
just get rid of Hypercrypt and the Grey Knights army roll. Just they don't need to
actually make all the Hypercrypt stratagems only work in infantry.
There you go.
Including the one
you can give your warriors a 4 vulnerable save. I don't need to see that ever.
Look,
it means they can just try to teleport their wraiths to their warriors. Like I don't need that in my life.
Well, they can already do that anyways.
Monolith becomes an epic hero. Most people are only playing one Monolith now anyway that aren't psychopaths like Dino.
Yeah, 2 monoliths tends to be a meme, but a meme that works. I mean, hit Mega Knobs and then probably trim the wings a little bit of Green Tide. I don't really know.
I would hit boys points personally, like get them up like 10, 15 points. But
is it
probably
boys
the generic war boss as well? Does it matter?
Yeah, because you want to use boys in other detachments because they're just your generic troop that makes.
I wanted to use Inceptors in other detachments, and they died for Vanguard sins.
Yeah, but that's because you're a Codex Marine player.
I think you increase trucks and Mega Knobs.
Trucks is an interesting.
I feel like it's the generic war boss is probably the one that's too cheap for
that's
both
also
of them.
Probably
and it hits both pretty reasonably, but
yeah,
same thing with.
You could also hit the Pain Boy.
Yep, I think you hit the character assortment instead of boys themselves for Innis's reason that he gave, which is you don't want to punish boys and other detachments, right? You don't want to be totally spiteful. You just want to
Just towards Mega
Make-
Knobs.
That's true.
just towards
Well,
Mega
Mega
Knobs.
Knobs
Mega Knobs
changed
go
more than anything
double.
else, but
We're going to
Mega
double
Knobs
the
make them
points
a
on
6
Mega
up,
Knobs.
feel no pain, make
give
them
them the
60
fucking
points a
death wounds from
model.
the index back. Like, that was at least interesting. Why is it not a damage output buff? Why do they get tankier? Why do they not get hittier?
Yep.
Too angry to die or something.
That's
like
not Orc's identity to me.
Sure.
No, it's
What
generally
is this?
not.
Fifth edition? We're living the identity of 5th edition knob warbikers. Like, that's not what I want for life.
CSM probably hit Warp Talons.
I mean, definitely hit Warp Talons, right? Like, just
Yeah.
that data sheet fundamentally just causes problems. Just that book is interesting in a like that book. I have no idea how good that book is without Warp Talons. I genuinely have no context for how that
Every
army
single
plays
list
or
as
how
well
good
has
it is.
20 or 30 of them.
Mhm.
Just punt them into the sun, remove them from the game. That rule will never be balanced in any capacity. We have seen that from Tyranids last edition. We have seen that from Warp Talons now. I think it was Malta in one of the backstages from Team Germany saying, "Yeah, it's the easiest GT I've ever won the weekend."
Yep.
Just punt them into the sun, make them 500 points for 2.
For
we
2.
don't, yeah.
For 2 models. Yeah.
Yep.
I love it.
Two.
Yeah, so if you want to run 5 of them,
that's
that's
1,500 points.
Yeah.
Yep. Nobody needs that shit. Okay, Thousand
What about-
Suns.
Yeah, that's what I think. You have to increase. You have to change how Cabal points work. Is like my actual opinion.
Rewriting a detachment as a nerf is an interesting idea. I don't know if it's the approach.
I think it's what they should do, but they won't.
How
do
some
it.
of the rituals
It's not a
work.
detachment though, right? The detachment rule is the devastating sorcery stuff.
Sorry, army rule, but
Yeah. I mean, they did it with Eldar, right? Not that I necessarily think they're an Eldar level problem. I think Thousand Suns need changes that allow you to build a build list that doesn't include Magnus.
yes, please do.
And Magnus,
Because every
like,
single list always starts with Magnus, and then
Yeah.
you fill it out.
like
So
I don't feel like Magnus
500
is
points of
+2
your army
aura.
is just reserved.
Magnus's +2 movement aura probably needs to just not exist.
Maybe. Or
I
maybe
don't
be
know what
targeted.
Yeah. Yeah, have like make Magnus's like his make it so like his +1 to hit and wound thing is one of the auras, and then put like the +2 move on pick a unit to get +2 move. Or something like that.
Like flip the two of them kind of thing?
Yeah, and then you have to choose between +1 to hit and wound and -1 damage. So you have to choose between damage output and defensiveness for Magnus, rather than just getting both of the best ones. But I feel like that's probably more effort than it's going, because I'm willing to bet that that is not in the codex and therefore will not change to that, because that's definitely what they've done for some of the stuff like Real Space Raid, where it's just like this is just the codex stuff early. Definitely happened with Admech, right? I feel like you just have to point him to oblivion at that point, right? Like just
Possibly.
up. 600 points. Would you still play Magnus at 600?
No.
You sure?
I probably wouldn't play T-Suns if he was 600.
That's fair. If you had to, but would you play if you were forced to play T-Suns, would you play Magnus at 600?
It's 33% more than he is right now. Probably
Yep.
not. I'd probably want to take instead 600 points of other shit and just kind of make do.
But it's close. The fact that it's close enough to be consideration at 33% up is worrying.
No, it's just like, what else do they have in the army that has good range damage?
That too.
Like, that's the big problem. Is like, you look at the army, it's like, okay, so I've got 12-inch flamers, I've got 24-inch bolters that are kind of and then I guess I could play with Forge Fiends.
You could. They are cheap.
I mean, you could put Scarab Occults back in. Like, yeah, there's tons
Scarab
of
Occults
direction.
don't really do it unless you pump 3 CP in them and they're next to Magnus.
T-Suns definitely need more units, like in their army. Like, is actually part of the problem.
Automatas or whatever we want to
Yeah,
call them.
realistically, they probably. I think Thousand Suns is one of the armies that could do with a GSE level split, where you split them into rubrics with flamers and rubrics with bolters, and then you actually have 12 data sheets. You could actually run 12 units of rubrics if you wanted to, and then give the flamer ones the reroll against give like flamer ones the reroll when they're taking an objective. Give bolters the reroll when they're on an objective or something like that, right? Like have them be the defensive ones versus the offensive
instead
ones.
of wounds.
Yeah, exactly. Just like give them a different rule.
Because then you tag them with the sorcerers or the master that gives you lethal or sustained, and it actually makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
And
more
then you could
synergy in the army as
justify
opposed to
running.
I want an infernal master that gives my unit stained, leading 5 guys with flamers. You kind of go, well, this is dumb.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would be a much better way to change that unit.
No,
That
that
could be
one
done,
guy,
John.
that is a Okay, so that one guy said, God, if only we had a more granular way to sort the varying power discrepancies in Worker. You can do that, but the idea of splitting them into two different data sheets that you can have different abilities on them is actually a really nice one.
Yeah, it also just means that if you want, like, Thousand Suns cannot play more than 6 squads of rubrics, even if you wanted to. And I think that army would benefit from being able to play more rubrics.
Yep.
Sure. What's the next faction we want to look at?
Black Templars, Ironstorm, and Gladius, I think. I think Ironstorm just needs to go in the bin. It's a disgusting
I think
should not
Ironstorm as a whole
exist.
just needs to not exist. And then I think that Black Templars should also have their Righteous Crusaders unit restrictions apply to any time. And like, if you just are taking Black Templars, so that you can't take 6 fucking Repulsor Executioners if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's also
dumb.
dumb.
You want to, but like, or even if you wanted to take,
there's been a guy
gladiators.
There's been a guy doing that, right? Like just 5 rep X's. So
yeah, please stop.
Yeah, I mean the fact that you can run a Black Templars Librarian disgusts me just fundamentally. But yeah, I think Ironstorm, like the one I've been proposing for a while, is that they're the lethal and fallback in charge should be pick a unit, not auras.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
That would be what I would, and I would consider upping Mercy to 2 CP. I know they're reluctant to change the stratagem CP costs, but Mercy is not a 1 CP stratagem.
Yeah,
it just isn't.
I guess then you'd start running Gilliman Ironstorm so you can free strat it.
I don't know if I would be willing to do that. I certainly would consider running less other stratagems. All right, let's flip it over. Let's talk through the bottom. So Deathwatch, I think Deathwatch will to exist
them out of their
based on
misery.
Imperial Agent stuff. Yeah. Admech, we know we're getting rewrites. I am hoping for damage and durability increase, points increase also, so that they get buffed. Like, I'm talking like buff them like 50%, up their points like 30%, so that the net plus 20, and that punts them up to like D tier, and we see where to go from there. But they're now like manageable.
Their biggest weakness right now is their detached. Their army rule sucks.
I would actually say their biggest issue right now is their cost per model. I would say we have no idea how good Admech are, because nobody plays them because they're extortionate to put on the table.
Played them enough on BTS to know that their army rule sucks.
I personally think it's pretty decent. The Mortal Wound plus with the update, the Mortal Wound and the Battle Shock.
No. That is their
that is
Rad Zone Core's detachment rule.
Okay, I like that rule. Sorry.
Yeah, that rule is fun. I actually quite like that rule. Their army rule is the Doctrinas, which half their units don't have.
Yep. Oh yeah, give everything the Doctrinas, buff the Doctrinas.
And what do the Doctrinas do? Do you know, Innes?
So it is while you are in your deployment. So one of them is while you are in your deployment zone, you get Armor of Contempt, and you are heavy.
Yep.
That doesn't require you in your. And the other one is Assault, and while you are targeting unit in your opponent's deployment zone, plus 1 AP.
With ranged attacks, yes.
With ranged attacks, yeah.
Which means that the entire melee range just kind of goes and looks like, what are we doing?
Advancing and not actioning.
Pain.
Yeah, because like I think that genuinely, like the Sky Stalker, Taraxi, Bird Brain dudes, they have names like orc units. I will never keep them in my head. Those things are really good, and Breachers still have hellish output. Like I think they're genuinely like good data sheets. They're just missing a rule, and you know,
give them an army rule that functions. And
also, there's some other stuff with just like, why did none of their tanks do any damage? They're all so cheap because they do nothing. Make their guns good and make them more expensive.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre design choice to go with like the neutron laser on the Onager Doom Crawler just being dog shit compared to like a Devastator Centurion. You're just like, how is this the decision that you went with of durability and no damage? That's never going to be a good. No one is going to enjoy playing an army whose design philosophy is that I do nothing a lot.
Yeah, I'm just going to get the kill bots to trigger their kill limit, and that's how I'll win.
All right.
I'll just keep hoping that they add the Fires of Syraxis stuff in, and it won't happen.
There is nothing but pain and suffering down that world.
Fires of Syraxis died in 7th edition. Move on.
I
Custodes
did, yes.
Right.
Oh,
Custodes are not this bad, right? Just they're not.
I'd say that they're probably COT right now, and they don't need that much adjustment. But at the same time, I'm sure the Custodes players will get very angry at me for saying that.
I think they could go back on points. Like, they could probably cut their points cost for some of the models a bit.
But they already did that.
and they need to do it again just a little bit. I think
But
if they go
don't,
too
because then Custodians
far,
are a horde army, and nobody wants that. Custodians players want to play with 12 dudes and be the happiest they've ever been.
I
Yeah, but they want
understand
to play with
that.
12 dudes that never die and table you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue with the Custodians book is the Qatar, their army rule, and not a 5 of field of hit against mortal wounds. Like, Qatar should be the shield host detachment rule, and their army
the
rule
shield
should be a
host
5 of field of
detachment
hit
rule
against
is
mortal wounds.
utter garbage right now. So
The Golden War, they never get to because they're dead too fast. Yeah.
or they
don't
call it and their
disagree.
opponent goes, I'm just going to move back because you can't touch me.
I just have a feeling that like we're going to see more points changes than rules changes. But if they do make a rules change, it definitely should be that the army rule is their 5-0 feel no pain against Dev and mortals, essentially.
It really should be. It's really dumb that it's not.
Yeah.
Because
And I think
for me, that's always been that's for at least the last couple of editions has been Custodians' design identity.
Yeah, but
is
then
that
what do
they're
you do
durable.
with Talons? Because that is their detachment rule.
+1 to something else, right? Like it's not that big a deal,
I
right?
think-
Give them sustained hits when they're within 6 of
mortal wound protection behind a detachment is fun.
I don't think it is, but sure.
I don't think it is for Custodians specifically.
Exactly.
I think it is for
Custodians players
other
get
The
into
only
it
one that
factions.
doesn't
because
have
that's what they want.
actual mortal wound protection is the Sisters detachment. That's because they all have it baked in.
And Auric, because it's all character based.
Sure. Yeah, but Orc is a
That's-
weird one. But like in terms of like both
Yeah.
Talons and Shield Hosts have access to mortal wound protection. It's just either conditional based on a unit or on demand from a strat, which I think is fine.
That's fair.
I just think it's
Yeah.
not fine for Custodians. I think Custodians are like the one army where you have to bake at least some amount of durability into their data sheets a little bit if you're going to have them be like a fully functional, mostly walking elite army, that they kind of need that.
I mean, if they're mostly walking elite army, then delete Forge World. And then we can talk.
Yeah, true. Caladius should not have 4 shots.
You'd have to
I
make
will die
it.
on that
You'd
hill.
have to make it. You have to make some other changes, but
Why did
I do
Caladius
think you
double
need.
shots and gain twin link, Nathan? Why? Why?
I just think that they hit the like, if we consider it the seesaw of like balance for like firepower versus durability, they like broke off part of the durability part, which I think was a little too much.
I mean,
I don't think the book is bad. I think the book in the stats looks worse than it actually is functionally. And I think part of the problem is that the faction got so mad at itself that nobody plays it anymore.
Like,
Like, it went
just had the
from
most deeply touched thought of a
9
-1 damage kata or a fight first kata, and now I want to take the thought back.
be gone.
Thanks for you should not have even put that into the universe. I don't know.
Yeah, just give
I think
3 more kata, 1 for fight first, 1 for +1 attack, and 1 for -1 damage, and then they'll be fine.
I do think that they need maybe like a little durability boost somewhere, and that's all that it is. I don't think they need like a major one. I think that's bad, but they
Oh,
need
man.
like a little bit.
I've just had a thought. Do you think they got rid of the -1 to hit kata because they now make you choose a kata when you select the unit to fight, and they were like, we can't make that timing work with it not being army wide? Oh, that I don't like that.
I
don't like
the
that at
Katachi
all.
in that sense, but
I like the kata in that sense, but it definitely like I don't know, man. Rough.
I don't know either.
All right, Death Guard. Our Death Guard. I didn't think Death Guard were bad, frankly, coming into this. I fully expected.
I think
them
they're
to be
just
in C tier.
mid. Like, I don't really see them being as bad as the stats show, but I also think that they're real boring to play.
That is probably true. They're also very crushed by allies more than most factions,
Yes.
and could probably do with like some internal buffs for that. But like, yeah, I don't think you can buff them internally without nerfing like brigands and nurglings. Well, nurglings maybe not so much anymore, but
Yeah, I'd be curious to see how they survive. If they stop taking Nurglings and their win rate goes up, then I'll have a good chuckle.
that would be quite funny. Okay, core Space Marines. Engine Cannon strength 12. I actually do agree with it. It's weird they're strength 10. But other than that, sorry, Death Guard players, you deserve nothing. Fight first is a dumb mechanic. Remove that, and we can do some reading about your army. Fight first is just a mistake in general, but yeah.
don't
Book
think it's
Space
a mistake in
Marines,
general.
I think, just need sweeping like everything buffs. It's insane to think about that. Just everything in Core Marines just sucks a little bit.
Make the Repulsor better, make Centurions better. Like
The Redemptor, Blade Guard. Like the fact that Blade Guard don't have
often to do much to them.
Yeah, maybe Blade Guard should have a 2-up save base and be weapon skill 2. Just a lot of stuff like that. It just feels like it's just slightly wrong. Base Terminators should be like, I think the thing that GW needs to do is just like either just decide what they want Terminators to be, because it feels like they're the unit that Codex Space Marines want you to play. Right? It's like, hey,
go and buy the iconic Space Marine unit.
And it's just like, hey, go and play this. I think a repulsor to WTC. Chill. The book wants you to play Terminator so fucking bad, and they're so terrible. Like, I don't know what you need to do with them, because you can't give them a wound, you can't give them a toughness, you can't buff their save.
Why
the only thing I can
think
think to do, because then you have to buff Death Guard's one's toughness, and like it's a whole. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Also, it'd be really funny because then Custodes players get upset because Terminators are T6 and
the same toughness as Custodes. Yeah.
Well,
I feel like you could buff their toughness, but I don't feel like they're going to do that.
T6.
Exactly. Thunderhammer, Terminator Thunderhammers push them to damage 3, maybe. Right?
Or
that's
AP3.
Maybe a change. Yeah, or AP3 damage 3, frankly. Like, who gives a shit?
Make them hit on 3s instead of 4s.
Yeah, and then the Power Fist can go to 2s. Like, make Terminators feel like elites in the army instead of dudes with 3 attacks that hit on 4s if you run Storm Shields.
Yeah, because it's rather silly when you look at it. It's like, okay, so I've got a Terminator with a Power Fist that hits the same as a Alt Intercessor Sergeant.
Yeah, exactly the same profile. Yeah, I feel like Terminators need like +1 weapon skill on all their weapons, +1 toughness across the board, and to stay the same on points. And Blade Guard probably need like to go up 5 points and gain weapon per 5 and gain a weapon skill and a point of save.
Yeah, I think that'd be fine. They are Terminator light. They're still T4.
Exactly. They're meant to be veterans, right? And then I would start looking at some other stuff some of the truly dog shit vehicles. Like in this context, we're also nerfing Ironstorm, so I'd feel less about buffing some of the bad vehicles, because that's definitely like a sketchy moment.
Yeah, like we don't need to buff the Vindicator, but maybe we look at Marine Predators again.
I wouldn't. I mean, the Predator Destructor is still very playable, but yeah.
I'm looking at the Annihilator right now.
Sure. I mean, the Annihilator mostly suffers from comparison to the Destructor. It's not. The Annihilator just has a bad rule, frankly. Reroll ones on damage is just not that inspiring.
That's what I'm saying. So just change that.
Yeah, and the reason why you should play Codex compliant factions, I feel like you should be allowed to pick a custom chapter that gives you like a small buff if you don't play any of the like other faction stuff. Just like, here's a thing, if you don't play another chapter, you're just like, you don't play Vulcan, you don't play Calgar, you just get a thing. And I would honestly be cool with it just being +1 CP a turn. Like, I get that that's a huge thing, but you're just like, you can't play Calgar, you play a generic dude, but while your world's alive, +1 CP a turn.
What if we call it like Indomitus or something like that? And if you run no Epic Hero, no Adeptus Astartes Epic Heroes, because that would just fixes it entirely.
It wouldn't, because you could still run like Sword Brethren, and like I would just make it like you have to play
no chapter specific and no Epic Heroes, and then give them reroll wound rolls of 1 with oaths.
Yeah, or Old Oath even. Like, I think that might be maybe too much, but Old Oath might even like when you're considering it, like, would you rather play like Azrael and Dark Shroud or have Old Oath? Like, I think that's a genuine consideration.
I would take Old Oath every time.
I might. I don't know if I would take it every time. Can't run Lamarties or Blood Angel or Death Company. Like, it starts becoming actually interesting. But yeah, maybe it's just reroll ones to wound. Or maybe you get a second oath if you don't play it, or
+1. But anything that they do like that, it can't just focus on non-codex compliant. It should focus as well on all named characters, because then you just turn it into.
Okay, you cannot play like Gulliman in this shit. No, it is you play a chapter that is nothing, and you get a buff. And I think that would be the only way to like increase the viability of those factions. And I think you could maybe exempt like exactly like everything from Salamanders down that have like 2 characters. I think it would be a big buff for Salamanders specifically because they have 2 very good characters. But I feel like once you get out of the suite of exactly Ultramarines, it's probably fine. But like, because like Shrike's not changing your fucking army that much. But honestly, I would say you could probably get it. Like, you could just say, yeah, Raven Guard gets nothing. Like, you just don't play Raven Guard, right? Don't play Shrike, get a buff.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Chaos Knights and Imperial Knights, I think we can do together. I want to see how these look out with the Bring It Down changes, because I think that we are a decently like seeing these guys be like exactly where they should be, which is about C tier with the Bring It Down change, because they don't just feed it now, and the homers is worth less into them.
Yeah, Bring It Down got better into IK because you tended to be running 3 bigs, which means you kill 3 bigs and you've already scored 18 on Bring It Down as opposed to 15 you scored before.
I mean, it's only a point though, right? Like, and it's less if they don't kill them, right? In theory, you're assuming if you're going to win a game with the Chaos with Imperial Knights, they probably weren't killing your 3 bigs anyway.
This is true.
So I don't really feel
it's
like
definitely a big buff to Chaos Knights War Dog spam because now you have to kill 10 of them to score the 20 as opposed to the 6 or 7.
Yeah. I think it'll be interesting. I still think these armies just need a like infantry unit that they can bring that just does a thing and stands a point and isn't battle line.
That's what allies before.
But it feels like it shouldn't be.
I mean, that's again, knights shouldn't exist as an army, but
that's also true. But we can't go back on that yet. Okay, guard.
They just need a new. They need a new Drukhari style detachment.
Yeah, I don't even know if they need a new detachment because their strats are fine.
Yeah, I think you need to change.
Reinforcements is an absolutely cracked stratagem.
It is, yeah.
Where like
I think
for
you need to change.
Single turn, you can bring back 200 points of your army. I would slam that button every time I could.
Yeah, I think you need to change the army rule then, because it can't be reroll ones to hit or lethal rather when you're when you sit still or whatever.
Yeah, because then it just continues with the artillery park, and that's just not fun.
And so you have to change it to something else, and you have to change it to something that promotes maybe moving dynamically with your army, or promotes guard squads, or promotes being near officers beyond orders. It has to be something like that.
Yeah, lethal hits when within 6 of an officer and firing at a visible target would be like completely reasonable.
If you were to just make it so you had lethals when firing at a visible target, that would be interesting without the requirement for it being stationary.
Yeah, that too.
Because what big rerolls do guard have?
They reroll ones for sentinels. That's about it.
And then
I can think of, and then like
Scions
and the
reroll against stuff on objectives,
and the Russ as well. Rerolls ones, rerolls all against things on objectives.
Which
but that feels fine.
That seems fine because it encourages a bit
makes
more mobile gameplay.
You can always punt the points on those units up 5 to 10, like preventatively.
And Scions do just die to a stiff breeze. Tanks less so, but they're also expensive because I think a Lehman Russ battle tank is like 170 points.
Yeah, I also think like the general, like I know that this isn't a thing that is a problem right now, but I think some of the guard chassis are too cheap, like the Hellhound and the Vanquisher, and just making them do more. Again, like they should not be. You shouldn't be paying 130 points for a Rush chassis. It's too much stats for the thing, and I know that it's not contextually that great right now, but it is not a thing that I think is like I don't want to be playing against in a world where there is viable 6 Vanquisher. Yeah, I don't want there to be like viable 6 Vanquisher lists running at you with just like lethal hits and like jamming in your face. That's not a thing that people should be. It would be much more interesting if there was a reason to play them besides make their gun 2 shots and make them a bit more expensive, right? Like you should be paying that little for the chassis because its guns suck. Same with Honor Doom Crawlers and Admech, right?
Yeah, just make them worth taking for themselves, not just because they're a durable chassis.
Okay. Demons, Dark Angels, and Tyranids. Let's start with demons.
Make the bigs interact more with the regular demons.
I don't make the regular demons do something would be nice as well.
Well, yeah, that too. But like,
why did none of them do any damage, Jeremy? Why do flamers suck? They're not even assault.
Bloodletters are good.
How much less damage do you think a squad of 6 flamers does than a squad of 5 war spiders?
I don't even want to touch that one. Flamers are paying for their sins of 9th, and that's fine.
Sure, but why is everything else also paying for sins it didn't commit? Yeah. When was bloodletters were good, man? Like actually compellingly good. Yeah, I don't know what you're meant to do with demons. It just feels like they don't have a direction. None of their rules interact with each other. They don't.
I think they have 4 different identities stapled together.
Delacour sucks so much, and you have to play him.
It's very true.
He doesn't even kill an armigger on average, man. He's so terrible. And then Shalaxi is still 450 points. And like the Great and Clean one is tanky, and Plague Bearers are kind of interesting, but Nurglings don't do shit anymore, and that was 50% of your win rate as a demon player.
Yep.
all your loan ops are too expensive because CSM was abusing them. Like, it just feels like demons keep getting pushed about.
The price on a lot of the loan ops now that you have to take battle line to take them.
Yeah, but I feel like the demons' problem is that they don't do any damage and have any guns. But also that if you made them good in combat, they'd be incredibly oppressive because they 6-inch deep strike at you. Like, I don't think there's a design hole here, right? Like, you can't make them good in shooting because they have 18-inch loan up army wide, and you can't make them good in combat.
You also can't make them good in shooting because they just don't have
or
models
5-inch
shoot.
Exactly. Well, I mean, like, you could do that, right? Like, you could make the Lord of Change a better shooting platform than it is, right? Give it a second gun or whatever.
Sure.
But it's not compelling. You can make the Skull Cannon actually good at shooting, right? Like, there's lots of things you could do. There's no reason the Skull Cannon couldn't be the same profile as a Demolisher Cannon, right? It just isn't.
Thank you, Ben, for the $2. Hot take: demon allies are why demons are bad. I actually agree with this. Like, remove demons as an ally option. If you want them as an ally option, shove them in the respective book and they can take it from there. And then demons just are their own thing and balanced internally, and you don't have to deal with the outside stuff.
It's most of the reason why demons are bad. I still don't know why Shalaxi ever went up 50 points.
It's so you can't take 10 demonettes in her, which you can't do anyways when she was at 400.
Nope. Yep. Like, she hits so hard, but she does just die. Yes. Which is insane to say about a 4-up invulnerable save, 5-up field of pain model, but she does just die. Is this edition too killy? That can't be right. They said it was less lethal.
It probably is less lethal, but still not as less lethal as we would like it to be.
That's probably true. I yearn for the days of 5th edition where 2 units could punch each other for 4 turns and still be there at the end of the game.
I mean, that can happen. It's 2 tactical marine units swinging at each other.
I'm sure Ed Watts were killing plenty of people at the weekend. Thank you. Dark Angels, Jeremy. Tell us what Dark Angels need.
Make Deathwing great again. Make Ravenwing actually do something.
Yeah, that's true. Deathwing Knights back to 10 mans. Let's go.
No, don't do that. That would be bad.
Yes, do that.
But make their melee actually do something. Like Deathwing is
do
supposed
both.
to be. No.
They're so expensive.
215 for 5. It's not bad.
That's pretty expensive.
Yeah. Regular Terminators are 190 and they have an extra wound and a -1 damage.
Yeah. And regular Terminators, did we not just spend about 50 minutes talking about how they're super shit?
Trust me, I
maybe
get the point.
Lion should be good.
Oh wait, no, don't go down that route.
Maybe the Lion should have like better sweeps or something. Like,
the Lion have auras at all?
He does.
Cool.
No, he doesn't.
He does. He gets you to either choose +1 to hit in melee or a 4-up against mortals.
Yep. I would like you to compare those to Magnus's again.
Yeah, but Magnus is 150 points more than the Lion.
Sure, and twice as durable.
Yeah, give me back my -1 to wound.
Twice,
Thank you
and
very
like
much.
3 times kill you, actually.
-1 to wound so badly. Why is he so shit?
Like, at least kill him and stand back up.
What would you pay for the Lion? If his current rule set, what would you be willing to pay for him?
225.
How much?
225, maybe. He's 300 right now, so
he's 300 right now. 225. So he's the same points as a captain and an assault initiative squad in an impulsor.
Yes.
You think he's going to have as much impact as that would?
No. But at that point, I would feel less bad about taking him to the point where I would feel okay fielding him.
Red Rum Mortarion does also have a damage 1 profile. The problem with the Lions is that Mortarion's is ×3 attacks and the Lions is ×2. If the Lion had like 25 attacks in that profile, I'd be less upset.
I mean, he does have sustained.
Yep. And if you give the Lion crit 5s as well, come on, what are we doing? Yeah.
Sure. All right, and it's Tyranids. What do Tyranids need?
Hot take, I don't think Tyranids are that bad. I think people just, like, they're doing fine. They're fairly compelling, but a lot of people have Tyranids after the Leviathan box, and they're not that interesting. But Tyranids are an army that does not... They're a death by committing army that doesn't really do that much damage, and that needs a very, very deft hand piloting them, and that definitely results in a lower win rate. I do think the way that you make that, they don't really do much better, but they become more playable for the average, is by just stopping that damage output. The one that I spouted on the show before is +1 strength in melee when in synapse range, which would be just a big help for getting stuff over thresholds. Hormagaunts to strength 4 means they actually punch their way out of a wet paper bag, and so to 5. Most of the big monsters go to 10 or 11, which helps. And it's enough. It encourages the melee profile rather than playing just like triple X, triple Maliceptor, which is not the most compelling way to play Tyranids for people who are looking at the Tyranids army. Yeah, anti would be another way of doing it, right? Like, if when you pick your like at the start of the game, you pick an invasion fleet style thing of like monster vehicle or character, you get anti 5+ against that target or something like that. I think it'd be a way to do it, but it's not the most compelling. I think just flat +1 strength in melee, don't buff the shooting that much, and then some minor point reductions would probably be enough. Biovore definitely doesn't do 75 points anymore with the Spore Mine changes, for example. You could probably even at this point allow the Biovore, like multiple of them, to generate a Spore this turn if you left them at 75. So there was actually a reason to play more than one squad of them. I think you would have to leave them at 75 if you did that, because 3 Spore Mines a turn is a lot. But I think it would be fine.
Yeah.
The Swarm Lord is just egregiously overpriced. I feel like there's also an AP problem in Tyranids. Like a lot of stuff could do with +1 AP, but I would start with +1 strength, see how that goes, and then add +1 AP if it stays bad.
You probably keep it all within Synapse range.
Yeah, 100%. I would actually make you have to work for it. Like Tyranids are not bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't think you could just add +1 strength to everything. But I would start at +1, start +1 strength in melee and Synapse. Then I would extend it to +1 AP in melee. And then if that still doesn't get there, then you add shooting to it as well.
Probably decrease Norn's points cost as well.
Norns are egregious. Yeah, Norns are
just don't
ridiculous.
touch Norns. There's sadness there.
But I like my Norn so much. She's so pretty.
Yeah, maybe they should be cheaper. A Hierodule while you're at it.
I own a Hierodule as well. They're also extortionately priced, and they're on the biggest bases you've ever seen.
They are. That is the biggest base. It is silly, but they also are bigger than the base somehow.
I cannot quite remember what size base it is, but I'm going to quickly Google. I'm pretty sure it's 160 mil round.
I think it's the same one as the Great Unclean one.
No, Great Unclean was on a 130.
Yeah, the 160 would be the same one that the Soul Grinder goes on.
It's the one that Archaon is on, as I recall.
Which I think is the one.
It's on a 127, which I think is the same as the Great Unclean one, then.
It says 130 is what it comes with.
It's not, because it's a Forge World thing that doesn't actually sit flat. It's not actually round. It's a weird Forge World flat base, but yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like it's about the same size as the Great Unclean one. Okay, I'm maybe making it bigger than I is in my head. It's so awful. If they said that you could remove the tentacle from your Turvagon, I would still remove it from my list because it is 12 attacks at 612, which is not the most compelling damage output profile for a monster. Why does the Psychophage have D6 +1 attacks? Can I just be mad about that for a second? They made it cheaper, and it's 95 points now, which I think is at the point where you can't make it cheaper because it's a monster with OC3 and a reasonably relevant aura. But why is it D6 +1 attacks at 612 in melee?
Make it 2d3 +1, so that enemies can be only slightly less mad.
Why? Why? It hits with the same. It's with the same veracity as an assault intercessor.
Just hit 6. Just give it 6 attacks and be done with it. Just give it 6 attacks.
Just why is every profile turn is 1 AP, 1 strength, and 1 damage
minus D6 attacks?
Because it's distracted by all the eating it's doing. Okay, I get you. I got it. I like it. Do we have another faction that we want to talk about in this?
I think that covers all of them.
I think that covers everything that's not exactly in the C tier. Tau, I think people are still finding their feet with. Drukhari, I think, are genuinely just fine. They seem reasonably compelling. They do their job, and I think the new detachment is great fun. Eldar are, I think, problematic in teams still. I think that army is still very good when you compare for it, and the amount of fire and fadey bullshit they can do. But honestly, I think that's mostly a Yvrain problem.
Well, also, a lot of the fire and fadey bullshit from a secondaries perspective breaks with Pariah.
I mean, it still doesn't stop six Scourge and Shadow Spectre squads being a pain in the dick to deal with, right?
Oh yeah.
I really hate the archetype that's 3D Cannon, 3 Scourge, 3 Shadow Spectre, 3 Dark Reaper, 3 War Spider, and it's just here is 3 of everything bullshit, and it's just incredible oppressive pressure turn 1 that you can't interact with. I really don't like that.
Reasonable.
And I think that list probably, for the health of generally the sanity of everybody who has to play against it, should not exist in that capacity. But I think you could probably compensation buff some of the less played stuff in Eldar, because it's genuinely not that good. Buff the Avatar. Let people run him. Make people run him, so I can kill him many times.
Make them is my favorite. I like that.
The fact that people aren't running your brain as well, or running the Incarn still, still very good. People are psychopaths. But yeah, that's what I got.
Let's do the plugs then.
Yeah, I was going to spread the plugs out over the episode, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to do we're going to start moving towards doing a slightly more abridged version of the plugs because they're getting long and we're getting comments on it. And I feel like I'm mostly going to recommend, hey guys, there's a bunch of stuff in the description, the stuff we do. I'm going to give you the highlights. Patreon.com/statcheck. $5 a month gets you access to our wonderful Patreon community as well as a bunch of extra stuff, including a Red Dragon discount code. We're running things like the Vibe Check League in there. It's an amazing time. Great bunch of people. Highly recommend. Please do check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/statcheck. Like, subscribe, hit the notifications button, drop us a comment. As always, it's the best thing for us. We love seeing them and being able to respond and interact with the community, and it helps us interact with you guys in a way that makes sure that we're doing things that you guys like to see. Hopefully, things like this tier list. There's a bunch of other shows on the network which you can also find on YouTube. XM1, End of the Matrix, Take Out Comers, and Champions of 40K. You can find all of them there, as well as links in the description. You can also find our wonderful sponsors, Wayland Yutani, Red Dragon, and Saltar Games. All of them have links in the description. Red Dragon is a gaming store in Ottawa that will be able to provide you.
We lost an Innis.
The plugs got so hard that Innis broke. All right. You can go to Wayland Yutani. There's a discount code. They make WTC style terrain. They're the WTC terrain supplier. There's a discount code in the description of this episode. Innis already talked about Red Dragon. You can get all the widgets and things from Saltier Games on Etsy.
Internet.
You'll have to look.
Sorry.
No problem. We covered Saltier Games and the rest of Wayland Yutani.
Perfect. I lost track. Somebody keep going. No, it's cool. You can check out if you want to get help from us here at StatCheck, you can check out stat-check.com/coaching or drop us an email at coaching@stat-check.com. Myself, Jeremy, Noj, Typhus, and now Tyler will be more than happy to help you out as we move into a new balanced data slate period. It's a great time to invest in yourself and work on leveling up your 40k. Lastly, as we said before, we are for this month coming ahead for Pride, we are going to be donating the proceeds from our Patreon and from Super Chat and all that on YouTube to a couple of charities, one of which will be Mermaids in the UK and a to be determined charity in the US. If you guys have any suggestions for that, drop them in Nathan's comments or leave a comment under the video. We're more than happy to hear your suggestions, and we're super happy to be able to be in a position to do that for the community.
Yep. Also, shout out to J15 Games who've been supporting us. There's a code for them down below. I will hopefully be getting a set of the US Open terrain from them very shortly, and I will show it off on stream when I can.
Now we're going to do questions. The way to get your questions answered is to join our Patreon for $5 a month, and then you can ask questions, and they will get answered on air. Otherwise, Super Chats is the only other way to get guaranteed questions answered. If you drop them in YouTube and I see it and read it and think it's interesting, I will add it to my list of questions to answer. But the only way to really guarantee it is to Super Chat it or to pop into our Patreon Discord and ask it in the question thread. And I'm going to start with from Ben McJurick. Oh, his title changes consistently, which is, do you enjoy teppanyaki?
We've never tried it.
Yes.
I also enjoy teppanyaki. The next question is from Pius, which is, which events are worth a trip to attend? And I think I know the answer for all three of us is going to be at least War Masters, probably is one of the events worth traveling to attend to.
100% War Masters.
Yeah, you probably can't go wrong with any of like the named super majors. Like LGT, LVO are both experiences for their own reasons. LGT is much more a gaming focused event. LVO is very much about being in Vegas and playing Warhammer. You probably won't go wrong with any of the other like UKTC or Frontline like sort of affiliated events. Some of the big team events in Europe, things like Alpine Cup are great fun. The guys there Alpine run like a fantastic event, whether that's Leoben or Castle or any other ones in between. All the guys that if you're in like the Canada region, I know there's a bunch of awesome ones run by the Canhammer guys. Basically anything that you see that's like a big name super major is going to be worth doing. Breath Weapon Gaming, obviously, for Jeremy. If you ever want to come to Scotland, obviously check out Team Scotland 40K. But yeah, like you're probably not going to go wrong with one of the big events.
Yep. And the XPZ guys run good events as well.
Yes.
Yep. Down in
I think that covers most of the world at this point, except for Down Under. I'm drawing a blank right now.
Con would be probably one of the big ones. That's January. I can't speak for any of these
Uprising
because I've not been to them. Uprising as well. Yeah. not been to any of those,
generally,
so I can't speak for
the
them.
answer is if it's a big event that a lot of people go to, you're going to see a lot of your people that you know from the community, and it's going to be pretty amazing. So, like Willow Weeks points out Nova. Nova's a really well-run event that's been running for decades now at this point. I think it's like 14 or 15 years ongoing. And it's always a hype event. I might be going this year. Ben is asking if StatCheck is a Kelly Cup sponsor. I think we are this year. I knew we were last year.
We're speaking of tomorrow, so we'll find out.
That's about something else, but yes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Classic.
There's always a new group chat, Dennis. You know it.
I know
All right.
nothing about what's going on. I don't think I'm going to be there tomorrow. I think I'm busy.
We're rolling into Lucas H's question now. Otherwise, we will expand on event questions for like an hour.
Yep.
Which is which factions with decent external balance but poor internal balance would you like to see changes to at the data slate?
I mean, I have to say Nids, right? They're my favorite faction.
Yeah, but do they have good external balance?
I think they're all right. I think they're
the numbers
amazing,
say
but I think
no,
it's been
but-
worse.
Vibes wise, yes. Then
Yeah, of course. I'm always running off of vibes when I'm talking about like that's always the thing, right? Like my view on the game is very much not what the stats are saying, right? It's what I am experiencing in
Yeah.
WTC practice and all that kind of thing. So it's definitely for me.
Tyranids
I
won an
felt-
event in France this weekend.
They did. Yeah,
Nice.
Tyranids are doing all. Tyranids are all right. But I would love to see a bunch of the melee stuff get better in Tyranids. Marines is obviously the other one that I think is really like, you know, externally they're probably doing all right because they have so many builds that you can kind of adapt them to whatever you're trying to do, but their internal is shocking. Please, for the love of Christ, make Blade Guard do something.
Yeah.
Tom Crayford asks, any tips for grabbing and rolling dice quickly, especially in larger numbers? Feels like it costs me a bit of clock time, especially with large units with flamers, etc.
So I'm going to shout out the Dutch here. Florian, and it's been linked in the StatCheck Discord multiple times, so go check that out. Get yourself a dice box or a dice tray that has indents for your dice so that you can basically sort by tens, and then you just grab a row at a time, which means you'll always have it, and it takes no time to sort them.
One of the ones that I've been seeing recently is you can have like little organized buckets of dice ahead of time for the number of things like your units are going to be trying to do. It doesn't help with flamers and variable shot weapons, but it will help you with things like boys units and stuff like that. If you just have like a one slot in like your organizer that's just this is how many attacks a boys unit has kind of situation, it's pretty easy to kind of not go wrong with something.
I once played against a guy who had a bucket of 80 dice and he put 4 of them out once before it and forgot to put them back in and fired 13 units with the wrong number of dice, playing too many shots. So, you know,
It's just cheating himself in that
Be
case, so it's
careful.
fine.
maybe we should deciding those two cultists weren't feeling it that day.
That's fair. John asks, that one guy, John, now that we've had some time but are still waiting on points, how does everyone feel about the GSC/Sisters Codex? And is Anthony still under Team USA gag order? I don't know about the second one, but I think we can talk about the first one.
We'll have Anthony on next week, so no, he's not under a gag order. He just, won't talk about the super secret stuff. He'll talk about the obviously some fun stuff. I think Sisters points are really going to depend, but Sisters are going to be bananas. Like, I've been playing against people who like playing at 1,600 points because they're worried it's going to go up, and they still ran me over. I went, this is bad.
It's going to be a problem.
Repentia that can just touch anywhere on the board is a mood.
Run more move blocks, guys. GSE, I like the idea of some stuff in Xenocreed and Outlander Claw. Xenocreed definitely like strikes me vibe as like this feels like it will not be that great when people learn to play around it, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Outlander Claw feels like it's just very good at playing the primary and denial game, which is always pretty good in the game of Warhammer.
Yeah.
But they feel like they're both reasonable options.
All right. Garan Redrum says, what are the biggest changes you want and hope for in the data slate? We kind of covered that already in the previous section where we kind of went through faction by faction, the things that we'd like to see change in the top
Universal
and bottom.
rules, please fix the battle tactic change. That should never have been something that we've been dealing with for this goddamn long.
I think they could finally also tweak indirect so that it's something that's like, okay, maybe stop
Remove it once per
driving,
game.
stop driving points up on it and start
Every single
changing
indirect
some
weapon
core
can only
rules
be
and stuff.
fired indirect once per game. I like this.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Once per
Mark
game.
asks, okay. Mark asks, what missions are you most enjoying playing from the new Pariah Nexus pack? And what missions have you found to be the worst/most challenging? Have you guys been playing a lot of Pariah Nexus stuff?
I have and haven't because team event this weekend that I'm attending, so I've been trying to stay kind of out of it. But Terraform, I find it's very easy to fall behind very quickly on. Linchpin is hilarious for its comeback mechanic because there's no cap on the points on it. So, like, you can score on a 5 objective map 23 primary if you've tabled your opponent and you're just sitting on all 5 objectives.
Yep. I would say broadly I have liked Linchpin. I found Terraform okay. I don't mind having a mission that gives you an early lead because with the general backloading of missions now, especially with things like Unbroken Wall in the game, I don't mind there being 1 or 2 missions that punish you if you're trying to play that super safe game. It's like, sorry, man, all 3 objectives go Terraform, you're just behind now. I think that does put an interesting clock on the game, and I think it's fine for that reason. I do not like Burden of Trust. I think the fact that there's an unevenness in the amount of times you can do the ability isn't great, and I've not played on Exploded Ordnance. New Purge of the Foe felt great with the change to...
I like the changes to Purge.
Yeah,
I have played New Ritual, which just feels fine. It's a little bit
I'm sure Ritual's going to feel exactly the same, but you just have to measure a little bit differently now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will say I've been really enjoying the new cards. I've played like 8 games with the new cards now, and
the new cards feel a lot better. Like Tactical no longer feels like you'll have 5 dread draws in a row.
It does feel even more grim when you have Double Dead Guard now, though. I will say,
it shouldn't be
you're
happening.
Just like, oh, I'm fucked. When you're just like, I don't have time to cleanse this turn, and I cannot get Assassination or whatever. You're just like, this is bad. But there's more room there. Like, that's probably a sign that you improperly spent your CP or you mismanaged resources, right? Because there are levers to deal with that. Like, you're now, when you're getting bad cards because you made a mistake and the game isn't bailing you out more than it feels like you're just getting scammed on cards now.
I'll admit I haven't played any Pariah Nexus games, mostly because it's really hard for me to keep it straight going into actually this team's event this weekend to make sure that I only remember rules as they exist currently in this game and not rules as they will exist in a week from now.
To turn off your app updates.
Oh, damn it. I do have to remember to do that. Thanks, bud.
Do that right now.
I'm going to in just a second. Bryn asks, hottest new Slate hopes? Spicier the better. I hope that they merge Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights into the same faction and then Legends it. Not really. I don't hope that.
I hope they do Legends all Codex compliant Marines special data sheets. So that you just have.
Sorry, Jeremy.
So that you just have, base Marines, because that's what the Marine players always want to be playing with. And then you lock the non-Codex compliant out of the Codex compliant detachments.
I hope that somehow the sister points are so fucking bad that GSC launch better than them and GSC are still D tier.
Wow.
I don't know if that's possible, but at the same time,
every single data sheet.
I don't know if I want to introduce that monkey paw girl into this world.
I want 450. I want the Triumph to be the same points as Magnus. She's got the same amount of wounds.
Red Room
450.
The only enemy who I'm concerned about is Cliff, and that's just because he's so big.
You should be worried about Anthony too, just as like a general rule of thumb.
Yeah, but he's not insulted about Knights things.
I hope World Eaters lists gain exactly 5 points. So the 1950.
Adam Thylacine asks a question for me, strangely enough. Nathan, as man of science, temperature scale tier list. The best one is Celsius because I use it all the time. Kelvin's in second. I've never heard of Rankine, actually, but it will be third just because. And Fahrenheit is the worst and shouldn't be used in science at all. Fahrenheit is about how
you're American.
I've never heard of Rankine. I've never used it. I've used Kelvin.
Rankine is the absolute. Rankine is the absolute scale, but in Fahrenheit.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard of.
That is the actual worst thing I've ever heard.
Yes, that is.
Never mind. Never mind.
Fahrenheit, but in the absolute scale, so it's Kelvin.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard.
Fahrenheit goes back to third place, and Rankine is in last.
Why you weren't commenting on my name?
Yeah, I'm licking my thumb and sticking it in the air and being like,
I didn't
feels cold above Rankine.
So Celsius is the best one though, because I like that scale system the most, and it's the one that I learned all of my science based off of. Kelvin's a great just absolute scale, cool. Fahrenheit is in third just because it's like about temperature experience, I guess, but also only in third because Rankine annoys me the fuck most of anything I've ever heard. There you go. There's your tier list. Willow asks, at the end of Leviathan, was there anything you expected from the mission pack? that either over or underperformed in your eyes?
Gotta shout out my boy Chillin' Rain, taken before his time, overperformed every day of the week.
I will not miss Chilling Rain.
I will miss Chilling Rain. Is the
in
best.
peace.
The best round
I want
one
to play every
opener.
round stalwarts.
I hope you're ready for 7 rounds of fucking smoke and mirrors, because it doesn't matter.
No, I want 7 rounds of inspiring leadership just because it'll piss off every single CK and Tyranid player.
Let's kill your warlord. Fuck him.
I don't think anything in particular like under or overperformed though specifically. Although Chilling
We've seen
Rain
a lot of wild
overperformed in my
swings.
heart. Yeah,
Actually, no. Fucking shout out to Supply Drop. How the fuck you made it through unchanged? Overperformance of the century, buddy. Fucking incredible energy. How? I don't understand. I will never know. That's my Trump winning the 2016 election. Like, the man has clearly got dirt on Games Workshop. I don't know if like Josh's family was like murdered by Supply Drop and he's scared of like pissing it off. Whatever's gone wrong. I don't know how it's still here. I don't want it to still be here. But it is, and it's just our curse for another 6 months, 12 months,
Right.
12 months. Oh, it's 12-month mission packs now.
Jack.
We're going to have 11th edition before Supply Drop fucks off.
Jack.
No, we'll have one more
Chapman
pack.
asks- Yeah, we have one more pack. What are you talking about?
I bet it's in the next one. It's going to be like, it's going to be the Scouring, man. It's following me.
Right. Jack
This is
Chapman
what
asks,
Supply Drop die, Parappa.
God damn it, Innes. How much do you agree with the idea that points fix everything, or are some things just doomed without rules changes?
Points don't fix everything. There are. Look at AdMech and tell me that points fix everything.
They don't.
Points can
don't
fix everything if you went stupid with it. There is a point level to which every data sheet in the game is balanced. However, that is not necessarily good for the game. You could, if you made every AdBec data sheet 1 point, that would be the best book in the game.
Fair.
Right?
There's a point
would be.
where
It would be,
Yeah.
but it would also be unplayable.
Yes.
Right.
But if you made whatever the worst data sheet that you're thinking of right now, if you slashed its points by 75%, it's the best data sheet in your book.
I mean,
I think
sure.
that's true.
And the fact that you could fix everyone with points now, should you? No, 100%. That's why rules changes happen. It's so that shit like that doesn't have to happen.
Yeah, because then you also end up with like an Elder army that has 3 models.
Sure. But you could
Mhm.
make every unit balance with points. You just shouldn't. That's why we have 6 monthly data sheet rules changes and 3 monthly point changes. Because points get you close. Rules changes take the stuff that can't be fixed with points and adjust it, which is why they need to be less frequent, because it makes the game more stable.
Right.
I think
Adam
we
has
the
another.
frequency pretty much right.
Adam Thylacine asks, you get to pick the next 3 codexes released. Which ones do you want?
Tyranid,
Warriors,
Space
Thousand
Marines.
Suns.
One at a time, fuckers. Innes.
Okay. For excluding me making jokes, I would like to see the Demons book. I would like to see the Blood Angels Index, and I would like to see Thousand Suns.
Okay. Jeremy.
I want to see the 3 Cult Marine books.
Fair.
I guess
want to
4
see.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess 4.
Drew-
All 4 Cult Marine books.
I hope Emperor's Children are before Guard this edition. Just
No, but here's the problem. Guard will be the last book, and Emperor's Children will be the second last book.
yeah, that's fine. As long as Guard are the last. I hope
I was
they
gonna
release
say-
for the new faction this edition is before Guard as well. It's probably next
was
summer splash release, right?
I was going to say Votan, Drukari, and Emperor's Children.
Ooh.
Drakari already have 50% of the book anyway. There's no way they have more than 4 detachments.
They're going to have 6 detachments to spite you. Just watch.
No, there's going to be Real Space Raid, the Witches 1, the Kabbalites 1, and the Homunculi 1.
And they'll get the Yanari one because Eldari don't get it.
Yvrain should be put into the Harlequins book and not exist. Yes, agreed.
Ooh, a Harlequins book. There we go.
No.
All right. Oof. I don't know how to answer the question follow-up, so we're just going to skip it. Cam LM, how many updogs does it take to make Nurglings good again?
Not much. You.
It takes 1 OC.
What the fuck?
Nurgles get a rule that just says they count as 1OC when performing actions.
Also, see you in Ottawa this weekend, says Cam. All right, and then Red Room has a really long question that I need to decipher real quick. Whatever, I'm just going to read it. I've been playing Custode since the start of 10th edition. Yeah, I know. He edited this, by the way. I read it at first, and he was like, thanks for shitting on my faction the whole edition. My second army is World Eaters. Loving it too, but I believe in another... I need another army to improve as a player in general. I feel there is stuff I just don't see by playing those two combat-oriented armies, even though I love the combat phase. What armies offer me the best floor to improve in general? I heard AdMech, but I don't want to, even with buffs incoming.
Don't touch AdMech. You're just going to get annoyed, and it is so expensive. So are we talking looking at a gunline army, in which case grab like Guard or Tau, or look at more of a combined arms approach? Don't touch Marines, because that's just way too many models.
I think
in there.
CSM are probably like the place to go if I was going to pick like a faction that has a bit of everything.
Yeah, or CK.
As a book. I think CK teaches you how to play CK.
I think
Fair.
CSM or Tau are the two right choices, because CSM has like everything, and then Tau is a fast-moving, shooting-centric army, and it will teach you how to do
really
movement well
should
and
be
shooting
charging.
well.
Tau is going to teach you how to charge when not wanting to do damage real good, and that's a very important thing to identify in 40k.
Yep.
Yeah. I think those two are good ideas.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Yeah. Tau have a smaller range, which is definitely compelling, but if you have CSM already, or if you already have
range that
if
big
you already
now,
have, it can be depending like how spread you go, but if you already have some like World Eater stuff, there's a decent bit of crossover with like characters and things like that, which could be compelling. Sisters is also a good shout. Like that's just like excited power level reasons. They're another army that just does a lot of stuff.
They also tend to be
plays
pretty
Warhammer.
evergreen because they have both like shooting and combat that they're pretty good at in both sides.
Yeah, I think Nids is not a great shout right now just because their design philosophy is so much I don't do damage. But if that ever changes, then it's a bit more.
Come back to this place next week and we'll find out.
All right,
for sure.
I'm going to go through super chats real quick. Ben McJurek, thank you for Anthony isn't home. Quick, make a tier list. Thank you to Davlos for shout out to the Tyler Clementi Foundation. I will look that up later. Thank you to Ben McJurek for Pride on Nexus. Thank you to Evil Granny for question about orcs was too long to include plus Pride. Thank you to Red Rum, which was do a prediction tier list for Pariah Nexus. I know you want to, and tell us what you think will perform the best and the worst. I
mean, we'll do that. We are currently, assuming the standard that it comes out on Thursday, currently planning on doing a 12 p.m. UK, 7 a.m. EST stream with myself and Jeremy, and potentially anybody else who joins us, but probably just the two of us. Where we'll be going through the data slate and points updates and anything else that came out and going through our thoughts on ramifications, etc. Again, focusing on singles because of the time of year, but we'll do our best to cover a bunch of that, and we will probably talk about big winners and big losers during that time. So expect to see us live in just over 53 hours, hopefully. No, math is hard.
Right. Thank you again to Ben McJurek.
59 hours, there we go.
Doing small super chats, putting in my call options on AdMech being the GameStop of stonks.
They're going to the moon, except not really.
And then also thank you. Mars. True. Then also thank you to Ben McJurek for thank you to Friendman for what do y'all think needs to happen with demons to get them out of this canyon of mediocrity / rock, paper, scissors game?
We talked about that, so go back. But basically,
staple a 4 armor save to every day issue with a 4 vulnerable save and a 5 armor save to every day issue with a 4 with a 5 vulnerable save, so they can benefit from cover against gapey garbage.
Sure.
The fact that they just don't get to interact with the most common rule in the game is dumb as fuck.
Mm-hmm. The next one is from Jacob Bauer, which was a question for us, which is with CSM being top of B tier and Anthony playing Deceptors to a GT, is it safe to say that makes Deceptors A tier and clearly the best detachment?
Check back this space in October after he's attended that GT, and we'll update him.
And then thank you, Ben McJurek, again, for hot take. Demon allies are why demons are bad. And then finally, thank you to CLM No Name for your $2.79 Canadian donation with nothing attached to it aside from that.
All right, Nathan, run us through your spreadsheet of pain.
Oh, God damn it. All right. So if you join our $15 a month tier, which is a crisp high five, you get a number of benefits in person, including crisp high fives and also a bunch of personalized benefits. But one of the benefits that you get is that I'm going to now read off your name off a Google spreadsheet to thank you for being in our $15 a month. And although there is a revolt ongoing in that channel about whether or not to participate in the Google Drive spreadsheet, I'm going to read off the names off the spreadsheet anyways and ignore all of your calls of resistance. All right. Thank you to Chris Irvine, Christopher Danif, Irvine. God damn it. Thank you, Willow Weeks. Thank you, Dan F. Thank you, Luke, Dan F. McCarthy. Thank you, David Clark. Thank you, Ier. Thank you, James H. Thank you, Colton Dan F. Miller. Thank you, Fungus. Thank you, John Dan F. V8 Gang. Thank you, a name that disappeared off of here. Thank you, Cam. Smells like Updog Morton. And the number of you currently trying to edit things in is very funny. But I'm not reading any more of them, and I'm done. Thank
Someone
you. Someone
put Innis's name in there again.
Oh, thank you, Innis. There you go. Thank you, everybody, for participating in what is the most chaotic and supportive tier that we've got.
It's the best and worst.
It is the best and worst, and we love all of you dearly. Thank you all for
We're going to introduce a $30 tier that you can cash in a baked good if you catch me at a tournament. I think we do numbers.
We might. You're not wrong. People like their snacks.
I probably have to run to the shop in between and be like, it's not homemade, but I promised I would give you one. All right. I think that's going to be everything for us for this weekend. We're coming in just under 2 hours, which is, again, slightly longer than we were planning to, but this is a chaotic time of year, and we did do a tier list. So please share this far and wide, argue with us in the comments, tell us why we're stupid, all the good interaction-y things. Post it on Reddit, post it on our award Discord, and make them laugh about our tier list for a change. Whatever you could do to just really spread the gospel of stat check, because truly, we are there for that. If you're at a tournament this weekend, come say hi to one of us if we're there. If not, have the best of times. May all of your balanced data slates be kind. I truly, truly wish you the best, unless you are a Necron player or a sister player, in which case I really just hope things suck for you and you're having a really terrible Thursday.
Jesus. Bye-bye.